else could we do? How do we use this information to also help our students more with working online? And what we've put together is a study recommender. And what this does is it informs the student more clearly of where they are, what they're doing. Here you see are the weeks, of course, and it's a reminder. It's saying you're in block 1 now, visit this part, part 4. This is what you should be in the course. Here again, another one. This link will enable you to navigate to the study materials on part 6. A reminder in this time to look at the sense surgery, that part of the course. And again, here's another online link to another part of the course, what you should be looking at during this time. So what did we find when we with students who use the recommender system? Now, the majority of the participants found the study recommender useful for 2 reasons. One was to remind them of learning material they've missed. Because we do work through quickly. Sometimes we forget things. We think, oh, I need to go here, I need to check this, but miss out an important section of the course that will be best. And also as a means of directly accessing content. It means they don't have to go through all the valley. They can just do one click and get into the part they should need. And of course, the perceived usefulness was influenced by a number of factors. And we find that good students do look at everything. And what we need to do is to help those students who are struggling, to remind them and to point them to looking at materials that are very important in understanding and getting through the module. So here we've got a graph of all the activities that have been designed. And this is Kwan's work, one of our doctoral students, who then looked at the minutes, the time that students actually spent on what he had designed for them to do, and really took them on what they were doing. And I think the take-home message here is that, you know, most of what students are doing in a week is determine what we design as teachers, and we shouldn't forget that. We find this, if they're not doing what we think they should be doing, it's because of the way we designed their teaching materials. So the question I'm sure you're going to ask me, and I'm trying to anticipate here, is OU better than other ways of monitoring students' progress using learning analytics? And it's here, which we set up with 54 teachers, controlling for previous student performance, that the average student performance years, a year when they didn't have OU Analyze and when OU Analyze was available, there was significant differences for teachers who made use of OUA, the Open OU Analyzer. Better student outcomes in the year they were being used. So that's a very important finding for us. What were the teachers' views then? Okay, we find if teachers use this, it makes a difference to the students and their outcomes. But what do they think about it? So the most important finding here is that the OU Analyzer complements existing teaching practices. the teachers know what the students are engaging with week by week. And it helps with individual students, of course. But it also helps with understanding how well received and how good are the teaching materials. If you're finding students are struggling with one particular week, all of them, then you know something needs to be changed. Just to become more proactive and engaging with their students. And of course, they don't meet their students. They have some tutorials online, but it's not, a physical meeting. And to know students and to see what they're doing offers a tremendous insight. And if it is on the way through, I have been giving where I can, where we've got data and papers published that you can go back and look at those. So here are some quotes from teachers. It's always good to hear what teachers really say. It's all very well me giving you graphs and statistics. One of the things that OUA 100% has been made me do is being much more proactive and sending out messages around in and between assignments. I feel that I'm on top of what the students are doing. Before the closed book, we didn't know what they were doing online. We couldn't see that. Now the tutors can. And this encouraging comment from this other tutor, which she had a difficult group and thought 5 of them would not get through. And with extra information, they all got through. And how encouraged and uplifting that was, because we're all here to help our students succeed. So, what about student success? What is the real model? So we have to have availability of data, impact the student experience, and from our designs, and then from our analysis, create actionable insights to help. And of course, this falls into 3 areas: data and how we use our data and use it in our AI, our design, continuous improvement to impact the student experience, and the creation of actionable insight through our analysis and our AI. But we mustn't forget that we're using an awful lot of data as well to create this data literacy. We must have data governance and compliance, and our analysis to give visualization and storytelling to help us to create good pedagogies, not forgetting that with this data, we need a strong ethical framework, and the data is kept. So what have we learned? Because that's what you're going to ask me. What have we learned with learning literacy, learning design at the OU? Now, as you know from any research, moving research mainstream is slow. But it can be enhanced with clear senior management support, bottom-up support from teachers and researchers who are willing to take a risk. It's always a risk when you try something new. Evidence-based research and gradually change perspectives and narratives. Forget about the small, medium, large successes as you're going through, and fail to realize that you're making a real impact. Change can be difficult, but remember about the impact. Large-scale innovation takes substantial time and effort. It's all about people, influencing people with people in strong teams. The final thing I want to tell you about is we also have a commercial platform called FutureLearn. That is the OU has. It's now brought in a commercial partner as well to work with us. Focusing on, in this platform, are micro-credentials. Much shorter courses, to upskill our workforce. In the UK, the government is very concerned with skills, and our undergraduate courses are concentrating on skills, but there are changes and demands from the economy and employment to upskill people, and we're doing this in the form of micro-credentials. Before it was in MOOCs, now it's micro-credentials. And our pedagogical model for the micro-credentials and for this platform is based on conversation theory, but making conversation theory at scale. Now, it was Gordon Pask who developed conversation theory, and he was interested in how scientific groups exchange information and understand one another to build new knowledge. He built a mathematical framework, a mathematical model of conversation theory, and he happened to be a visiting professor in our department in IIT from 1974 to 1979. And it was Diana Laurillard who took this model, mathematical model, changed it into what I would describe as a teach-back model here, where why and how questions are very important to help learners understand and solve problems, and how they demonstrate this knowledge in a conversation with their tutors and through their assignments, and how feedback's given on those assignments. And this is the model that I used when I was building Open Essayist. This system, an automatic feedback system to when students make their assignments, their drafts of assignments, and it goes into a system where they get automatic feedback about their drafts to help learn how to write good essays. Now, translating this conversation theory into into FutureLearn, here's an example of posts in FutureLearn. And what we have in FutureLearn is a series of steps, except for the tests and the polls that take place, and also a conversation at the end of them. To open the conversations, in the discussion steps, they are open. So there are a number of steps that you have to do, and there's always a conversation with a discussion. So they have to navigate these discussions, and there are a lot of recommendations here about how to do this, and how the students should do this. They need to follow their tutor and members of their tutor group. They can't follow everything all the time. It will be too much. They personalize their image and profile so that people in their group start to know them. Encouraged to read the most recent comments, which they can like or bookmark some of the comments. Post-liked filter, and they contribute to the discussion at least twice a week. So you're doing things, but you discuss together what it means, what the activity means, what you're learning. And so it's a learning together, a change, an exchange of ideas, a conversation. Here's an example of a conversation. And this was an activity around citizen science. So go onto the internet, search for examples of citizen science in your area, share that example, post the URL, and once you've added, and explain why. Why did you choose this as a good example? Because the students here are learning about learning and teaching. And look at the other people's examples and why they chose those. And so you come to a consensus and some tips for best practice of how you would do this sort of activity with your own students. And more importantly, because it's a conversational model, start off with an icebreaker so the students get to know each other. So here in this particular course, it's an image that represents something about learning. In the discussion, share a link to the image, explain why you selected it, and look at others. And that's an activity so you get to know one another, comment, and this is just an icebreaker, and it helps you move into how you will use the system and work together in your learning on this particular platform. Now, we talked about learning designs before, and what's the learning design here and the hours spent in Future Learn. And again, we've got a good model here, a lot of communication taking place, and we've got simulation with lots of activity, and a third, of course, assessment. So what are the main challenges in our learning design, our learning analysis, our learning analytics? What's our really big challenge? Because all this sort of work is to help our students. So our grand challenge is representing the analysis of learning that can be readily understood by teachers and students alike to help to progress and to move to find success in employment, in our lives, and moving forward. I'd like to thank lots of members from IET and from the Learning Design, Learning Solutions area, Gerald Hall, Dr. Simon Cross, James Davies, Professor Bob Rientes, Dr. Thea Heredutu, Professor Martin Weller, and Professor Rebecca Ferguson. Left some references, presentation, and here are some more in the final slide. Thank you very much for your attention today. I look forward to hearing your questions.